Nehemiah 13 verse 26 again. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things, by marrying these foreign wives? Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his God. The point of sin for Solomon was a spiritual principle of mixing a love of the world with a love of God. And the principle is they don't mix. You either choose one or another. You cannot serve God and Mammon, said Jesus. You cannot go in two directions. And Nehemiah, in this passage, is dealing with an Israel that is so mixed up with foreign ideas and foreign laws and foreign traditions that they forgot the principle for which they were created, for which they were redeemed through the Red Sea by Moses. So, to remind them of that, he tells them about Solomon, the most distinguished of their kings. He said, that's where it started. That's the principle. That's where you begin to choose wrong and you go wrong. Did not Solomon sin by these things? And it's not different for us. The charter of the Christian church, this is not a very popular verse, but it is, come out from among them and be separate. Touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. I will be a father to you, you will be my sons and daughters, says the Lord. Now you may break that charter, but you do so at your own risk. The laws of God, like this, are like a safety barrier, right? Think of Jurassic Park. You know that film, Jurassic Park, where they have the safety barrier, and outside are the animals, and inside the safety barrier you are protected until, the electricity fails and the bad stuff comes out. If you break the laws of God, like thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not covet, you're not sort of doing something to please yourself. You're breaking a safety barrier and allowing a whole new way of living to come in. They're meant for our good, not to spoil our fun. And Solomon broke the safety barrier, and Israel broke this. Did not Solomon sin by these things? Solomon's Israel in his day had a ring of nations around that were dominated by a savage idolatry. And he broke the barrier of differentness, that we are not going to live that way. Maybe we're not so different. We have the pull of the world all around us, don't we? You think of the Amish people in North America, and you might think it's foolish or extreme or something, but it's an attempt to deal with this important thing, that we as Christians are different from other people, or should be. And the intention is not to mix with the nations, not to mix with them, not to be involved. Now I know we're to be salt and light, but the very point of salt and light is its differentness. Jesus said, if your salt has lost its saltiness, lost its flavour, then it's good for nothing but to be cast out and trampled by men. And that's our fate if we, in our Christianity, become indistinguishable from the world. We're just trampled by men. There's no difference. What's the point of it after all? Okay, that's our fate if we so mix with the world that we become like the world. So Solomon saw, he looked, he saw that it was good, and he tasted it. And traditionally, Ecclesiastes it's ascribed to Solomon's authorship, and it gives an account of an unrestrained pursuit of worldly pleasure. And the writer goes full tilt into it. He drank it to the last dregs, no half measures, all the way through. I sought in my heart to give myself to wine, yet acquainting my heart with wisdom, and to lay hold of folly, till I may see what was good for the sons of men, which they should do under the heaven all the days of their life. He threw himself in, full tilt into pleasure. And like the prodigal son in the story that Jesus told, he ends up feeding on empty husks and saying, vanity, vanity, all is vanity. This is just empty. It's just a waste of time. There has to be more than this. And now Solomon knew that, and in Ecclesiastes you see something else going on. He gives himself to occupation, gives himself to business. He sends ships all over the world. He builds up an empire. He has massive building projects and the temple construction. Then he starts developing slavery and to pay for the buildings, a ruinous taxation, a national debt that hadn't been there before, and political alliances. And all that stuff, the business and the worldliness and the alliances, dried up the springs of his own spirituality. It's just the same with us. The more you get involved in this stuff has to be done. But if you get involved in your heart with it, it dries up the springs of your own link with God. And so he allows foreign temples to be built, and he grows worldly about religion. Maybe start to think, well, isn't one religion as good as another? So long as you sincerely believe your own. Maybe he started to think, well, maybe there's a good deal to be said for these foreign religions. He's got these wives, and they've got these foreign religions, and they start to build their own temples even around Jerusalem. After all, as he says in Ecclesiastes, nothing is for sure, nothing is certain. So why forbid people the quiet enjoyment of their own faith? Very Prince Charles. Sounds great, doesn't it? The trouble with thinking that all religions are equally true is that logically that means that all religions are equally false, doesn't it? So he went to the bad. He chose, and like we're saying, the analogy of golf, he sliced the ball and he went off into the rough. And it's a rough place outside the laws of God. Let's ponder on that on another time. God bless you now.